back on, or else if on one of the days this week you get busy. We'll be meeting today through Friday to discuss the last assignments that we're doing, and I guarantee none of them are going to be strenuous or hard to do. And they're all going to be used to help build up your test category. We are still getting word from the district as far as like the fine details of what your grades are going to look like. And in particular, what we do know is that the grading scale will be either A, B, P for C's and D's, and NC. We're trying to figure out breakpoints as far as if there's going to be shifting anything as far as percentages. We're also asking questions about pluses and minuses, and so hopefully we'll get some insights about that from the district. But where I would be is if I was in your situation, I would be thinking about these things. Number one, do not get the NC. And the reason why is because they're going to be labeling that as an I. You'll then have time to work on getting that caught up in the fall when most of the stuff then is not fresh in your head, and when you'll have a full slate of other classes that you need to be picking up on. And so I would encourage you, if you are in that category, get your work done and let me know about it. I spent the weekend going through old assignments as well as new ones for my regular class. And so for you guys, you have some new assignments that I'll be putting into the grade book. In particular, chapter 40 and 41 notes are due before we wrap up this course. Remember, you get to throw out one chapter of notes per quarter if you'd like to take advantage of that. But if you do go that route, I would encourage you to read through the rest of your textbook just to understand where we came from, what we've gone through. This is the time when your head is most engaged with the content, and so understanding how we got to present times is not a bad idea. You also have been receiving a number of ed puzzles. One that you received last Thursday was dealing with the Reagan presidency. And today what we'll be doing is we'll just be taking the next chunk of U.S. history, and today's ed puzzle is just a crash course on George H.W. Bush. The link for that ed puzzle is, let me put it into your chat right here. This link, it's also on your Google document. When you watch this ed puzzle, you've got a series of questions to go along with this, and if you do run across any questions that confuse you, cause you problems, if you feel like the answer is wrong, these things are being cobbled together either by pulling other people's ed puzzles or by, in this case, creating my own. And this is done while also trying to clean up the details of grades and whatever. So if there are mistakes, I am definitely on your team. So send me a message about if you see things that are wrong with the question or whatever. Your points are awarded both for the question and for completion of the video itself. And so all of this stuff is meant to just give you coverage of the content while also giving you a chance to build up your test grade. And so none of it is meant to be something that would be destructive or bring your grade down in the testing category. So if you do see problems with any of the questions, definitely let me know about that. When you watch this video, notice that with George H.W. Bush, he is going to become our most popular president ever in U.S. history, technically, where he has a popularity rating midway through his presidency that is incredibly high. And he is our only one-term president in the past 2 decades because he goes from that high to an economic downturn that is going to cause the election of Bill Clinton to replace George H.W. Bush. What we'll find with George H.W. Bush also, he is highly qualified to be president. He held virtually every position you could prior to becoming president. He was the head of our intelligence agency. He was also vice president. He had tons of experience. He was a war hero. Pretty much everything on a resume that you would want for a president, you've got it in him. He is also somebody, though, who represents the old type of Republicans. And they're the type of Republicans that are finding themselves less and less on the side of where the Republican Party is heading. He is much more willing to compromise in a much more moderate sort of way, where a lot of the people who are in his party are moving in a more conservative direction. You're going to see George H.W. Bush do some things during his presidency that will make many of his fellow Republicans suspicious of him as being too moderate. If you noticed in the last election then with Donald Trump, he was able to effectively label George H.W. Bush's son, Jeb Bush, as being low energy. And for many Republicans, they interpreted that in the way that you should be looking at it in this video, where there's a moderation to the Bushes that kind of represents the older type of Republicanism that you saw with Eisenhower and Nixon, and not necessarily the direction that the Republican Party has been going over the past few decades. So when you take a look, you'll see George H.W. Bush is going to accomplish a good amount of stuff in his one term as president. Tomorrow, when we come back together, then we'll take a look at the transition to the Clinton presidency. Then we'll take a look at the movement to 9/11, George W. Bush and Obama later on this week. And at the end of the week, we will wrap up. So we'll be done with giving out any assignments by the end of this week. And then next week, obviously, grades are due. We believe that the grade due date is going to be June 4th, but we're still waiting on details for that from our principals. What I would encourage you to do, though, is if you are turning in any work, I've got a lot of different grading spaces that we've been using, and it doesn't necessarily pop up for me in the most convenient sort of fashion. So if you do turn in anything, please make sure that you send me a message, tell me what I'm looking for. I'll look for that. And many of you guys received messages over this past week, and as I've been going through email and Schoology messages, letting you know that I found your work. It's been driven into the grade book. And I would love to be able to do that in real time so that I'm able to give you an accurate viewpoint about where you're sitting. At this point, then, that's what I've got set up for you guys. I hope that your Memorial Day weekend was a good one. And in particular, if you are considering what our days of commemoration are, we've got 2 days. We've got now Memorial Day in the spring, and we've got Veterans Day in the fall. Memorial Day is to commemorate the people who passed away in the service to our country. And for me, when I think back, I've got no one in my family who has passed away in recent wars, but I do have family members from World War II, one during the Civil War. And the day that Memorial Day is supposed to commemorate is the fact that for many of those people, they would die alone, distant from their families. Oftentimes then families would move away from their where they had been buried. And so this was considered a decoration day. So what you'll see in Memorial Day, which is a really moving tribute, is oftentimes people would fan out through cemeteries with flags, and they would decorate the graves of these soldiers. So at least somebody would be commemorating them in the area, even if they weren't related by blood, because they were related by national pride. And so that's what the day was supposed to be yesterday, along with like cookouts and all sorts of other things that you have for that day off. So hopefully today is going well for you. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Your chat is open, so if you've got any questions or problems, definitely let me know. And if you've got any personal questions about your grades or anything else, feel free to send me a message, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. You guys have a great day.